If you can't afford to hire, don't pay cash. Pay a percentage of the revenue the work generates. So revenue share collaborations lets bootstrap founders bring in agencies, freelancers, operators with zero upfront cost. The hard part isn't the idea, it's the logistics. It's finding the people who will do it, agreeing on a fair split, tracking revenue accurately and trusting the math. This playbook walks through the exact steps that finally made it work. So I started my first business when I was 16, and every time I needed help with design, growth, development, sales, I hit the same wall. I couldn't afford the people I needed. Not at agency rates, not at freelance rates, not at any rate. The only model that made sense was revenue share. Pay nothing upfront and pay a percentage of whatever the work generates. If it works, everyone wins, and if it doesn't, no one is out of pocket. It's a beautiful model, but 5 years ago, 3 things made it almost impossible to actually pull off. There was no platform that gathered the people willing to work on revenue share. And then once I found them, there was no clean way to manage the collaborations. I had to drag people into project tools, stitch together ad hoc systems, and setting up the actual revenue share was a hassle. Tracking, math, reconciliation, and a lot of mutual trust required. So I never got a single rev share collaboration off the ground. The business failed, and the reason was always the same: no money to hire and no infrastructure to hire without money. So here's the exact sequence I now use to bring in collaborators with zero upfront cost. I have 1 COO, 1 CTO, 2 salespeople, and 4 affiliates working for me 100% on revenue share on both of my startups, and this is how I did it. So step 1 is to define what you need and then what it's worth. So before approaching anyone, write down 2 things. The role, which is a growth agency, fractional CMO, dev contractor, and then the revenue you expect the work to influence. So this becomes the basis for the percentage offer. So a 10% share of $0 is still worth nothing. Collaborators want to see a credible path to revenue before they commit. Step 2 is to start on a platform built for revenue share. So you can go and create an account on joinordana.com, describe your startup, and use the AI to surface collaborators that match your need. Ordana is the only platform built specifically around the revenue share model, so contracts, percentages, and Stripe-powered payouts are baked into the system. And if a great match exists on Ordana for you, you're done. Set up the collaboration plan, sign the contract, and then you can skip immediately to step 5 of this video. Now, step 3 is if the perfect collaborator couldn't be found on Ordana, because then you have a few options. You can either go fishing on some other big freelance platforms, but just be cautious because it's against some of their terms and services to just go there, find someone to collaborate with, and then bring them outside of their system. So please be careful. The other thing you can do is you can just look around in your network. You can check out who else do you have. Maybe you can upload your entire LinkedIn network to ChatGPT and ask it, hey, who can help me with this, that, one, the other. And lastly, what you can do is that you can actually go to the AI on Ordana.com and it will search the web for you. So it will know, is there collaborators for your startup on the platform? If yes, it will suggest them. If no, it is trained to go and search the web for you, and it will give you the contact details. It will give you the reasoning behind why it could be a good collaboration. So you could check that out as well. So if you find collaborators outside of Ordana, step 4 is to vet them and then funnel them into the platform. So run your normal vetting process. Look at past work, references, a short paid test if needed. And once you've picked your partner, send them your Ordana invite link. They create an account, accept the collaboration, and then you simply continue from there. The big freelance platforms don't have a native revenue share feature, so the actual collaboration has to happen on the infrastructure built for it. So now you have your collaborators, you know what you want to do. The step 5 is simply to build a collaboration plan together. So inside of Ordana, you and your partner, or partners if you have multiple, draft the collaboration plan. So it's scope, deliverables, the revenue source, so your Stripe account, for example, for a specific product, and then the percentage split, and lastly, the duration and a max cap to it. So both sides edit it openly in circles between the two of you until you both land in a partnership plan that you both are happy with. And when it's good, you both sign from the platform with KYC. And now step 6, just let the platform run the rest. Because once the contract is signed, every charge that flows through your connected Stripe account is tracked automatically. The contracted percentage is calculated on every transaction, and invoices are generated and either auto-charged or pay manually on a regular cadence. So both sides see the exact same revenue data in real time. No spreadsheets, no trust me, that was a number, and no reconciliation calls. We live in amazing times where this is possible to do now, because 5 years ago it simply wasn't, because 3 pieces of infrastructure had to exist for this playbook to be viable. The first one is the discovery layer for collaborators who actively want revenue share work, not just freelancers who reluctantly accept it as a discount. Then we needed a contract layer that defines the split, duration, revenue source upfront with both parties signing the same document. And lastly, a payment rails layer built on Stripe Connect that tracks revenue, calculates the shares and pushes funds automatically. No manual accounting and no trust required. Ordana is the first platform to put all of these three together. That's why the model finally works now for solo founders and not just corporate ecosystems with internal coordination teams. So here are some common questions I usually get when talking about this. The first one is of course, so how much percentage should I offer? And it depends on the role and the revenue ceiling. So growth agencies typically take 10 to 20% of the revenue they directly influence. Fractional execs often take smaller percentages of total revenue, like 3 to 8% over a longer period, and then specialist freelancers vary widely. So anchor the conversation in the realistic monthly revenue your project can hit in the next 6 to 12 months. That's what they're actually pricing. The second question is, can I cap the total payout? And yes, you should definitely on two fronts. So most rev share contracts on Ordana define a duration, for example 3 or 12 months, or a revenue source, so from only this product. And then when the duration ends or the source stops generating, payouts stop. The second one is a max cap payout. It's more direct. We say, okay, you get 10% for the next 6 months, but only up to 10,000 euros or whatever currency you're using locally. So yes, you should absolutely put a cap on it. You're not on the hook forever. One of the most common questions I get is, what if the collaborator underperforms? And the funny thing with revenue share is that it actually aligns incentives, but it's not a substitute for accountability. So let's say you define deliverables alongside the percentage, because a growth agency owes you campaigns, not just an open invoice. Ordana's contract structure includes all the deliverables, review cycles, and a massive governance layer with a lot of safety guardrails to make sure that when things go south, you're still protected, as well as the collaborators. So everyone is very, very, very protected. And then, can you run multiple rev share collaborations at once? Yes, you absolutely can, and we actually want you to. So you can stack collaborations across different revenue sources or different percentages of the same source, and then Ordana tracks each one of them independently and shows you the combined effective rate so you don't accidentally overcommit. So here's the real lesson with this specific video. 5 years ago, hire without money was simply an aspiration that died in a Google Doc. But in 2026, it's actually a workflow. Define the role and revenue. Look at Ordana first. Fall back to other big freelance platforms as a sourcing layer. Then vet and then funnel into Ordana. Sign the contract and then let the platform just handle the tracking and payouts. Zero upfront money. Zero risk on your end, and the collaborator earns when the work earns. So the platform makes sure that the math is right. That's the model that should have existed when I was 16, but it exists now, so use it.